23rd. And Mayor, we can go whenever.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order and invite everyone to rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll do the roll call, a little out of order here. Start with myself, Thomas here, Anderson.
Present.
Bodema, not here. Schultz.
Here.
And Lothar.
And I'm here too.
Okay. Kind of having a relapse here. Okay, agenda approval. Is there any changes or additions from staff? I believe there is.
Mayor and Council, we have one item, well, actually a couple items. One, there are additional claims that Jessica sent out, I believe, yesterday regarding some election judges getting paid. And then we do want to add tonight 10D, certifying delinquent fees, and Jessica will walk through this, but essentially it was quite busy last week with an election and everything going on, and Jessica did all the proper noticing for the annual typical delinquent fee certification. It was in the paper. Each individual got a letter mailed to them. Forgot to put it on the agenda. So it's been notified appropriately. We'd like to add that to 10D, certifying delinquent fees, and Jessica can walk through that.
Okay, so I add 10D. Anything else? Anything from council? Okay, hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the agenda as modified with 10D.
So moved, Anderson.
Second, Lothar.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, and thank you. So we have the commission representatives, Jeff Dickman's here from the Planning Commission and Val Nybo from the Parks and Trails. I see Jeff there. I don't see Val on there or not.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, Val was unable to attend this evening.
Okay. Jeff, if you have anything that comes up that you want to be recognized for, just let Jessica know. Okay, item 5, which is open forum. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak at open forum? If they do, they can be recognized by Jessica and she'll put you on. So anything not on the agenda that you'd like to address on open forum, this will be the time to do it.
Mayor and those in the audience, if you want to be recognized, you can press *9 or use the raise your hand function on your device. At this time, we don't have anyone raising their hand. We could wait if you'd like to, Mayor.
We'll wait a second here, but okay, last chance. Okay, let's move on then to item 6, which is presentations. And we have something tonight, the police officer oath of office for Clayton Decker. So I assume that Matt will take this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Well, I wanted to bring forward to you tonight Clay Decker. He's been with us for a couple of years. He started as a reserve officer and as a part-time officer, and he's now our short-term full-time police officer. He started as a police officer with us in July, has completed his FTO, and as is tradition, we'd like to swear him in with his oath of office with the council here. So congratulations, Clay, and if you'll repeat after me, raise your right hand. I, Clayton Decker, do solemnly swear.
I, Clayton Decker, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer.
Within and for the City of Corcoran and State of Minnesota.
Within and for the City of Corcoran and State of Minnesota.
On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve, so help me God.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve, so help me God.
All right. Thank you, Clay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
The applause doesn't translate very well on Zoom, but congratulations, Clayton, and welcome aboard
Thank you.
to your
Congratulations.
next phase of your
Congratulations.
participation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda now, consisting of items 7A through G. I'd like to pull item B just for a minor clarification issue, but does anyone else wish to pull any items from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda item 7A, C, D, E, F, and G as presented.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item 7B, it's just I want to clarify something on item 9 on the agenda, the second page. There's the motion was to, it says to authorize change orders for a remodel project under $10,000. I'd like to see us add, just for future reference, when people look at it, by Anderson second by Anderson, to authorize Administrator Martins to approve change orders for the remodel project under $10,000. So it's really, we're authorizing Brad to approve them without having to come to the council. And that's not real clear in the way it's presented here. So I'm just suggesting that change. So if everyone's okay with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve that change and item 7B on the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
and Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 8, we have no planning business. And we're on to unfinished business, consists of items 9A and B, which is the CARES Act expenditures and the deferred special assessments. At this time, we'll take public comment on those two items. If anyone wishes to comment on them, be recognized by Jessica and she'll put you on.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone who would like to be recognized can use the *9 on their phone, and you can ask, or you can raise your hand, or use the participants button on your computer and use the raise your hand function there. And Mayor, at this time, we have not had anyone raise their hand.
Okay. Wait a second here. Okay, if there's nobody there, we'll move on. To item 9A, which is the CARES Act expenditures. I assume that Brad will give us a rundown on that.
Correct. Thanks, Mayor and Council. So this has been a few months coming now. We had a draft plan to you before, and now we have a finalized resolution we need to adopt just to codify the uses of the funds. And I apologize. We had to get everything purchased and paid for actually by November 15th. So we had to hustle quite a bit and pull final numbers together. So I just sent out the resolution pretty recently. So I will read it briefly for the council and just for the public as well, if that's okay. Resolution 2020-83, a resolution authorizing CARES Act expenditures. Whereas on March 27, 2020, the President of the United States signed into law the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, known as the CARES Act, that was passed by the U.S. Congress in response to the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak, which included $339.8 billion in relief under the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States, dedicated for state and local governments. And whereas on June 25th, 2020, the governor of the state of Minnesota, by executive order under the current emergency, allowed for the distribution of $841 million in CARES Act funds to counties and cities within the state of Minnesota in accordance with the U.S. Treasury guidance based on a per capita basis. And whereas the city of Corcoran has received $439,309 in CARES Act funding allocation, and whereas the CARES Act allows local government units to expend funds on costs that are necessary expenditures related to the COVID-19 public health emergency, on costs that were incurred during the covered period of March 1st, 2020 to November 15th, 2020. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Corcoran, who affirms the eligible use of the funds towards the following uses. I have category 1, facility improvements, equipment, administration, information technology, cleaning, personal protective equipment, an amount of $202,520.47. And category 2, personnel, in the amount of $236,788.53. And so you'll see the expenditures in the claims that we essentially approved today, finalizing everything. I will also just email out a final report to the council with every detail just to button it up nicer. We'll have it in our files in case we were to get challenged. We have this to back up. We actually have a higher amount we could have allocated to personnel, and we will codify that internally. The reason for that is if we do get audited, and if they say, well, that $50 thing was not appropriate, we actually can reallocate. Okay, we'll back out $50 there, but we had way more staffing that we could have put forth. So we'll just codify all those extra costs that are not going to be out of this $439,000, so we could put them in the future. So with that, that's the resolution we're looking for with approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, why don't we move forward with a motion? So I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2020-83 as presented or modified as you so choose.
So moved, Henderson.
Second, Schultz.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar. You're muted, Brian.
Was coughing, sorry. Aye.
And Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brad. And thank you, staff, for the effort you've put in on all these items, because the spending of the money required, it's a lot of work, I know, so it wasn't just in a vacuum. Okay, item 9B, which is the deferred special assessments.
Thanks, Mayor, Council, and I'll take this one again. And back to your previous statement, it is amazing how much work it takes to spend $400,000 in government in a quick manner. So it was a lot of work. So this item is related to the last meeting when we talked about deferred special assessments from road projects from back in 1989. And since that time, we've had a couple different waves of information coming forward. One, we recently found out that the assessments have the 30-year mark coming forward. And based upon our legal advice, there's this deferred, the statute related to green acres, which states that you can defer assessments until you're out of green acres, and that this 429 subsection also applies. Well, this 429 subsection has a 30-year max on the deferment. So that's been our understanding moving forward. So I've been talking with each of the 3 property owners. The last time I brought this to you, I asked the council to authorize myself to enter into agreements with each of the property owners to pay back the assessments over 10 years at 2% interest, and also would have to come due at the time of any sale. After speaking with a couple of the property owners and with the city attorney, another option we're bringing forward tonight is actually to authorize myself to enter into agreements with the property owners to allow the deferment to continue until they truly are out of the Green Acres program. And really what the agreement would say is to really waive their right to that 30-year cap. We'd say, I know the city says there's a 30-year gap, but we're saying you didn't waive your right to get them. So it allows them to continue the deferments until they're completely out of the Green Acres program. And that's the recommendation I do have for you. On top of that, we do have one specific property owner, Shirley Rice, who really disputes that she should have to pay any interest. And this comes back from some minutes that, minutes that were out back from 1989 that said that Bob Darrah, city administrator at the time, would follow up with how those interest would take place on Green Acres property. And Ms. Rice states that she did not have any correspondence. Now, I did have an opportunity to speak with Bob Darrah actually, and as you can probably imagine, from 31 years ago, he remembered the project roughly and knew the Rice, but couldn't remember whether there was correspondence specifically. And that's the information I put in the packet. Now, actually, just a couple hours ago, the city attorney emailed me a document, a letter from Bob Darrah to residents within residents with property in Green Acres dated October 2nd, 1989, and it is a clarification on Green Acres deferment of special assessments. Now, to be clear, I have this letter on, really old printed material. I have no mail proof that it was mailed out, but I do have a document that was drafted to those individuals showcasing how the interest would be applied. So, but the specific request from Ms. Rice is to not have that interest amount charged to her. Her statement is that if they would have known that, they would have paid it off right away and not incurred that interest. I have no reason not to believe her. As I state in the report, however, her husband at the time, Bill Rice, was at the meeting. The council did notice everything appropriately, and I feel that it is worthy to keep the interest on, as that's the way we're treating everybody else with this deferred assessment. But I do recommend moving forward with the agreement to allow that just to keep continuing on until the property comes either for sale or out of Green Acres in the future. So really looking tonight for the council to offer to take the following action: offer two agreement options, the one we previously authorized, and then the second agreement to defer assessments upon removal of Green Acres. But further, if they don't agree to those terms, to assess the amounts due in 2021 if no agreement is signed by the property owners. But my intention is to move forward with and say, here's the options in front of you. You can pay it now, all due. You can pay it over 10 years with interest, or you can just keep deferring it until you come out of Green Acres. And I feel that all three property owners would take the third option. It seems pretty basic. So I'll stop there and answer any questions you have.
Yeah, Brad, just a quick clarification. We're extended till they come out of Green Acres. Is that come out of Green Acres or the property sells? Because property can sell and not come out of Green Acres.
That's a good question.
My recollection from talking with the city attorney was that if it's sold, that would be.
So a sale of the property, even though it remained in Green Acres, would precipitate the paying off the assessment. I mean, that'd be typical for any assessment anyway. So I can't see how we could not do that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to quickly find the agreement, and I'll find it in just a minute here.
Yeah. Generally, when we do have assessments, Mayor, to your point, they if something is due on the property when title does their search with us, it is paid at that time.
But if I wouldn't want to see us enter into an agreement that specifically said till they come out of Green Acres, that might be looked as overriding the sale of the property. So we want to have an or function or clause in there, I think, to make sure that you can just, I would assume you can just, if we move forward with that, you can just make sure that that's in there, Brad, I would think, without having to without having to clarify it tonight, right?
Correct, yep.
Yeah, okay. The other kind of my stance on this a little bit is if I were these people and I had forgotten all about it and somebody, all of a sudden introduced it to me today, I guess I'd feel a little bit upset and might get defensive about it, and I can understand that, but that doesn't change the fact in my mind that the improvement was done, people were told about it, and I think the city, it's been on their records, although they have to go out and actively look for that. It's the city isn't proactive about reminding them every year that they have it there, and I don't think we have an obligation to do that, because it would be very messy if we had to do that for every assessment that's out there. So I can empathize with Ms. Rice a little bit, but I can't come down to where I could justify foregoing the interest. So that's my stance on where everybody else is.
I have a question with regards to Green Acres, since it's not a program that's totally familiar with me. Green Acres, when people go into Green Acres, it's for a set period of years, correct?
No.
No? So once they're in Green Acres, they stay in Green Acres until they choose to come out?
No. They've changed it recently as far as the requirements, but in the past it was you had to send a letter in every year stating specifics about your operation, which basically showed that you were raising crops or animals for profit, and they would look at that and say, yes, you do qualify to stay in Green Acres or not. Most recently, they've changed it to where you don't have to recertify that every year. But at any point in time, if you quit, if you fell below a certain threshold of raising crops or animals for money, you would be taken out of Green Acres, be forced out of Green Acres.
So as long as they continue to use the land for agricultural production, whether it be animal or crop, and they're certified at that level, they can stay in Green Acres for perpetuity.
Correct, unless, and even when the property sells, the property can stay in Green Acres. And when they come out of Green Acres, there's a retroactive clawback on taxes for a certain number of past years. So usually when people sell property, they try and make sure that the purchasing people will keep it in Green Acres so that they don't have to pay that clawback.
Okay.
It's not a huge number, but it's not insignificant either. So.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I understood that the control of Green Acres is left with the landowner, so that's not out of their control about coming out of Green Acres. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a person could say they could volunteer to come out of Green Acres anytime they want to, just by saying we're not raising animals or crops anymore. So.
Right. Right, but there's no discretion at the city to bring somebody out of Green Acres, so that was my only question.
Correct.
Really, with regards to that is, I read through the material and the notes from the meetings back in the 80s or whatever it was. Of course, like all notes, you're just getting the 100,000-foot view. You can't tell what was discussed or who said what or how much detail went into it. But so I, like the mayor, I'm a little empathetic, but yet it's pretty well widely known, and that if you're going to be assessed something, and there's going to be an interest cost if you don't pay it. So it's hard to know what the decisions were. I probably tend to agree, but I have a hard time foregoing interest as well. But knowing that the settlement of the interest is basically at their discretion with regards to it going to Green Acres, staying in Green Acres, I would be fine with leaving it when going with the option.
Mayor, just a brief add. Just the interest was only for the first 10 years, so it wasn't like it's been going on for 30 years. It was just for the first 10 years itself, then it stopped. And just regarding the Green Acres, so the city assessor is responsible for determining whether they still qualify or not. So ultimately we hire the city assessor, but it's statutory in nature, so we really can't influence it. It's kind of factual. Councilman Schultz, you might be thinking of the Agricultural Preserve Program, and that has an eight-year time frame. And that is a city program where there's discretion.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking about, where there was city discretion in that regard. Okay, thank you.
Was the interest rate established back in what, 1989 or whatever the year was?
Correct. Yeah. It's 7.75% that was established back in 1989.
All right. And that was just for the 10-year period of time. And then what's the rationale for that? Can I ask that question? Like, why is it just for 10 years and then it goes on 20 more years worth or without, you know, I don't understand the rationale of that.
The rationale is in Appendix T of the 1989 assessment policy at that time. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think, Brian, just to you can't assess a property in Green Acres. I should rephrase that. If you assess a property in Green Acres, it's deferred for 30 years no matter what. The city has no choice. And I'm guessing that the council just looked at it and said 10 years is a good time to collect interest and just give them some motivation to pay it off ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
Well, would it be that if you were not in Green Acres, you had 10 years to pay that assessment with interest at the time? So that's probably what the rationale is with it.
Sure.
It accrued at the same as anyone else.
Yeah, good point, Alan. Yep. Okay, any other questions? So you need from us, I guess I'll entertain a motion to allow for the three impacted parties to enter into an agreement to continue the deferment until the properties are removed from Green Acres program, or to pay them off. They have the choice of the three options that Brad has highlighted.
Or with final sale.
Yeah, come out of Green Acres or at finals or at sale of property.
I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson. Tom, you're muted, so.
Sorry. Aye.
Lothar
Aye.
and Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Brad. I know you put a lot of effort into this, trying to answer questions for people who are maybe a little upset or concerned. So, okay, now we'll move on to new business, which consists of items 10A, B, C, D, and E, which is the 2021 benefits summary, the Charter Commission resignation of Dorothy Tice, the 2020 election canvassing, and the certification of delinquent fees. So if anyone wishes to comment on any of these items, please be recognized by Jessica and she'll put you on.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone interested in speaking can use the *9 function on their phone or click on the participants tab on their device and click raise your hand. Mayor, at this time I don't have anyone raising their hand. We can.
Okay, so let's move on to item 10A then, which is a 2020 benefits summary.
Hey, Brad, am I handling this one? Perfect. Thanks, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have before you our benefit summary. Generally, we provide this each year prior to open enrollment. We're looking at doing open enrollment on Monday, November 16th. Sorry, wrong month here. We're looking at doing open enrollment in next Monday. And so we have our benefit summary. We're proposing to stay with Health Partners. We've received a 5.7% increase. We were anticipating up to 10%, not knowing how the pandemic was going to impact health insurance rates, but we received favorable rates from Health Partners. We did see rates vary with our insurance renewal up to 13%, I think was the highest one that we saw. So we're asking Council today to approve the benefit summary. I just got right before our Charter Commission meeting our composite rates, so I wasn't able to get our final rates to put in the benefit summary tonight for Council, but we're proposing to do, as we have in past years, a 70-30 split with the employer taking on 70% of the increase and the employee taking on 30% of that, as we have done in past years. So with that tonight, we just ask that Council authorize us to move forward with Health Partners with that 70-30 split as we have done in the past. And be open to any questions.
Any questions for Jessica?
Has there been any feedback from folks under this plan regarding Health Partners?
You know, I think generally we've had pretty positive feedback from the folks, my interactions I've had with folks, but I have not heard anything else. Brad, have you heard anything?
No, I haven't really, other than my own, personal experience, and that really was related to kind of lacking of the employee assistance program side of things, which is also why we kind of filled that gap with some other services earlier this year. So, but from a medical standpoint, it seems to be a reasonable plan.
I know that, I have family members who've had just terrible time with Health Partners. And I guess you can find people who've had terrible times with just about any plan that's out there. Sort of the way that the things are working these days. But if our employees are not happy with the plan, in some ways it doesn't matter how good it is, because they're just going to be frustrated with having care that folks that don't seem to care.
I will clarify, my bar for reasonable plan is really low, just because of what you mentioned. I've never had a plan that there wasn't problems with. So.
Well, I appreciate the question. I haven't heard any
Okay.
other comments on it, but I appreciate it.
You probably would. I mean.
Yeah. Yes, I would anticipate. So we've had. I know. In previous years, we have had with a different provider. We had some issues.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2021 benefits summary as presented and authorize staff to complete necessary documents for implementation.
So moved.
Second, Anderson.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
and Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jessica, for good work, and Brad as well. And you put a lot of effort into this. It's an important issue for the employees and everybody, so, and the city as well. Okay, item 10B, which is Charter Commission resignation of Dorothy Tice. So I guess everybody's gotten it. I can read a letter from her just to let the public hear what's going on. It's from Dorothy Tice. This is confirmation that I'm resigning from the Charter Commission and any other committees I might be listed on. The reason is simple. I'm just getting too old. I've enjoyed the many years of participation in various ways, but it's time to simplify my life. I'm not connected to internet, so don't intend to be, which causes extra work for everyone. The reason is simple. It's just time to do it. Dorothy Tice. So, you know, Dorothy's been very involved, and we'll do a thank you thing at the upcoming meeting, but Dorothy's been very involved ever since I've been here, and well before I was here, she was involved in a lot of different things on the Planning Commission, the Charter Commission, and just has been a very active citizen and very caring, and I really have appreciated her over the years. And she hasn't always agreed with me, but that's nothing to get too excited about. But she's always just been really had the city's interest at heart, and she's a very caring and involved person. So I hate to see her dropping out of this, but I certainly understand. So I guess I'll entertain a motion to accept the vacancy of Dorothy Tice from the Charter Commission and direct staff to accept applications to fill the vacancy.
I'll make a motion, Lothar.
Second, Anderson.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say that I enjoyed my time on the Planning Commission with Dorothy. She was very instrumental in helping me in those first few years that I was on the Planning Commission. She definitely had her own perspective on things and helped me look at different things with a different point of view. So I will sadly miss her involvement with the city.
Well said.
I too am grateful for Dorothy. She was involved in city politics when we first moved into the neighborhood 23 years ago, and was very helpful to us as a church and to me as an individual. I've enjoyed just serving on the Charter Commission with her these last number of years, and I do want to just publicly thank her for her years of service and how she's made Corcoran a better community.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep, she certainly has made Corcoran a better place, and you know she could disagree with you without being disagreeable. That's these days a rare skill. So
yes,
I appreciate that.
Okay, well, thank you all. Okay, all in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
aye.
and Schultz.
Nay.
You just had to fill in for John, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I didn't abstain.
Yeah. That's true.
Mr. Mayor, Council, so just so you know, Alan, I do intend to frame a resolution for her. Do you truly want your resolution vote for her?
Yes, I want her to know I want her to stay. And
Actually, no, I apologize.
I'll call her and tell her that.
No, it will be on a resolution to vote on separately, so I apologize. So.
Yeah, the separate resolution.
So what happens if we all vote on wanting her to stay? stay. Then he doesn't get to resign.
I don't.
We just mark her absent for.
Your courage is in your first vote, not your second. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, we know, Alan, you were just standing in for John. He put you up to that, so.
Yes.
Okay, item 10C, the 2020 election canvassing.
I'll turn that to Jessica.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So thank you all for your patience as we just got election canvassing results today. So I have all the envelopes from election day where we sealed in the original tapes showing that we had 0 at the beginning of the day and our results tapes at the end of the day, and so I do have those here. But in front of you tonight, I'm going to review our abstract that we received from the county with how many total votes we had, and then we'll certify the election results here. So at the total number of registered voters we had was 4,200. We had 4,066 people end up voting, and we had 285 registrations through the process. When on election day, at the point of election day, we had about 57% of our voters vote absentee, which increased slightly with the last results that were coming in, but it was very significant turnout for the city. The results are on this slide here, and I did send out a updated resolution to Mayor and Council right before the meeting as I got those results here. But I would ask that the Council consider a motion to canvass the November 3rd municipal election results and adopt the resolution 2020-81, noting the results, the returns, and then declaring the results. And for Mayor, Tom McKee received 2,118 votes, and Ron Thomas received 1,511. And then if you'd like, I can go through each of the different results. Otherwise, we can just certify the resolution and declare the results. Questions?
Okay. Any questions?
Jessica, I do have a question. So if I did my numbers right, we had 4,489 registered voters, adding those that were registered at the beginning and plus those that registered on election day, and yet for city offices we had significantly fewer who voted. Is that am I reading that correctly?
You are reading that correctly. You would be surprised by the number of people who only vote for a couple offices on the ballot.
Is that a typical response? I find that rather alarming. That folks somehow are either feel like they don't have enough information, or that they don't care, or that they're only voting, I guess, for president. But
sure, I would say since I started running elections in Corcoran in 2016, we often have lower vote totals than the total number of people voting in the election.
Okay.
So it's not uncommon, but as we process ballots and things like that, you do see several that will vote for some or none of the other offices on the ballot.
All right. That's unfortunate. These offices, these local city offices are not judges. These are contested. It would be serve the city, for the citizens, well if they would pay a little more attention.
And I would note sometimes folks, depending on the position, especially where there's elect two, sometimes people would just vote for one position. So that's another factor
Okay.
in when you're considering the results that we have in front of us.
All right. Thank you.
And I did want to note with the results coming in through results that are in that are here do include those that were received if they were postmarked by within 7 days of the election. So this would include anything through that was postmarked November 3rd, but received by November 10th as
Great.
it is with this pandemic.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution 2020-81, which is canvassing the November 3rd Minnesota election returns and declaring the results.
So moved.
Second, Anderson.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
and Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jessica, for the great work you did on the election. That's been a,
Yes.
it was a yeoman's,
Just stellar.
woman's task. So you folks really did a good job. And all the election judges as well. There was a lot of people who put a lot of time in on that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank Hope Church for providing the space, and St. Thomas Church for providing space for our elections.
And Mayor and Council, if I may, just to echo what's been said already, the amount of work and effort that went into this election cycle, particularly with just starting with multiple precincts, adding a pandemic, all sorts of items to navigate, cleaning after every voter that goes in. It went incredibly smoothly from this team, and it's obviously more than Jessica, but she's the leadership of the entire team, and just exceptional job by her and her team, Michelle and Shauna and everybody else.
Yeah. Not surprising, but certainly appreciated. Okay, item 10D, which is certification of delinquent fees.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As Brad alluded to earlier, I have to apologize. I sent out the notices, but then didn't make sure that it got added to the agenda. So we called for it. I have the excerpt from the paper. They have it still up on their website, as well as an excerpt of a photo there of the special assessment notices that went out. I did receive a lot of calls, so I do know that that we did have folks receive their notices. So we, as required by statute, we did send the notices, and I did confirm with the city attorney that that we met the legal requirements for proceeding with the special assessment, even though it was inadvertently left off the agenda. So I would note, as of November 12th, we had, excuse me, there's a slight typo here. We had about $2,800 in dust control and $2,200 in recycling that was still outstanding. I do have the breakdown on the side here with just the different properties without the owner names. Payments will be accepted through November 15th. So if someone pays through Sunday, we'll be able to remove them from the roll. But anyone who has not paid, we will go ahead and certify those results to the county. So we're asking council tonight to hold a public hearing and then just consider a motion to approve resolutions 2020-84 and resolution 2020-85 with those delinquent fees. I would note we did receive one letter from someone stating that they did pay the recycling and had confirmed that. So other than that, I have not received any other written appeals to date, but so we could hold the public hearing and then move ahead with the council action on the screen.
Okay, I guess at this time I'll open the public hearing for comments from the public. Anyone wishing to comment on the subject, be recognized by Jessica, and she'll put you on.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. we do have one person raising their hand. It is caller phone number ending in 3399. I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand and ask you, feel free to go ahead, caller 3399, if you'd like. You are currently, oh, there you are.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, I am resident of Corcoran, and I am here for the special assessment regarding this recycling fee.
Yes, thank you. Could we get your name and address?
Yeah, my address is 22992 County Road 50, and PID number is 2011923330005.
Thank you. You can go ahead and speak.
Okay. So I'm not using their services, and they keep charging me. So I am the resident and of Corcoran and owner. So does city of Corcoran give option if somebody is not using their services? They doesn't have to pay.
Mayor, would you?
Which service? Recycling or dust control?
I think he said recycling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, he's referring to recycling.
Yeah, and I'm not. I think the short answer to that is yes. You have to use it you have to pay it whether you're using it or not. Maybe somebody can expand on that, but it's outside the city's control. But basically, every resident in Corcoran, every PID has to pay recycling.
Yes, yes, Mayor. Any residential property, so we're required under Hennepin County Ordinance 13 to provide recycling services. Cities do it a little bit differently in each city, but we elected many years ago to do one single hauler and then charge for a portion of the recycling. And there has not been an option to opt in or out of the program, and the city does pay for, residents do pay for a portion, and then the city does pay for a portion of the recycling fee.
So the city of Corcoran doesn't give option to those who are not using their services. Why we should pay for something that we're not using?
I guess that's something to take up with your legislatures. I think that the thinking behind it is to encourage people to use recycling, but
yeah, and so we're required by the county to provide it. We certainly could look at doing potentially that different, but I think it would be up to the.
Yeah, basically the city has the expense whether we want to or not, and not that we don't want to. The way that's handled is everybody has to pay whether they use it or not, and we'd prefer that people use it. But in order to, since we do have to pay for it, whether it's used or not, we have to charge the residents whether they use it or not.
Correct, and I just would just jump in and add, certainly reach out to your county commissioner, as they would have the ability to maybe impact that, but it's a county rule we're stuck with as a city level.
So so this democracy doesn't offer choice if I'm not using it.
I don't know. I wouldn't put democracy on the line for it, but the fact is that service, which the greater powers deem to be something that should be encouraged and done, and is putting on the city's roles and expenses, is something you have to pay for. So if you don't pay for it, the rest of the city will have to pay for it, whether you use it or not. So, and again, as Brad said, contact your Kennebec County Commissioner. They're the ones who do it.
So, I mean, if you doesn't own the plane, right, you have to pay insurance for it. And if you're not even flying, I mean, they do fly. So they probably should charge everybody for the insurance that owners pay, right?
But we can have all kinds of discussions on the philosophy behind this sort of thing, but it's further pointless. It's the city has no jurisdiction over it. We have to pay it. We're passing on part of that on to you, not all of it. And again, the people to talk to would be your county commissioner or your state legislatures. Maybe could work on it as well, but we have no authority in that area. So we appreciate your input, but I understand you don't like the answer, but that's the only answer we have. We can't change it.
Yeah, it's really,
when does,
it's really not our decision.
Can you tell me, like, when this option basically come up, like when they come up with this option?
When they started doing this, I really don't know. It's been several years now. I don't know when it started.
Because what I would probably recommend to this individual is we'd be happy to follow up with you if you want to give either Jessica or myself a call. We could follow up with any details you want on it. This is really the public hearing to appeal the fee, which obviously you're doing. The council's choice upon hearing your appeal is to either not charge you and have the general taxpayers pay for it on your behalf, or have you continue to pay for it. So really that's the action tonight for the council.
Well, the truck's passing by anyway, so if I'm not using their services, it means they're not actually making any expense on my side. So, I mean,
sir, we understand that. We actually have residents in Corcoran who have PIDs that don't even live at those places, and they have to pay these fees. You can argue the justification or the fairness of it of all over, but it is what it is, and we can't change it. And again, as Brad said, we certainly encourage you to contact staff and we can clarify any of the details of it for you, and we can even probably put you in touch with your county commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Is there anyone else, Jessica, that wants to be?
Mayor, at this time, there's no one else raising their hand.
Okay, we'll wait a second here. Anyone else wishing to speak on this issue and be recognized by Jessica, and we'll take her input.
No one else has
Okay,
raised
hearing
their
none,
hand.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we need to pass a resolution to certify the delinquent assessments. Is there a resolution number for that?
Yes, we have resolutions 2020-84 and 2020-85.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2020-84 as presented.
So moved, Anderson.
Second, Schultz.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2020-85 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Okay, staff reports. Item 11A, pandemic response update.
Let Matt
Gonna
begin.
give that.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. The state's rolling out more extensive testing. I'm sure you've heard it in the media, so they're really rolling out the capacity. So we've seen the number of COVID cases continuing to rise. Part of that is because they're doing a lot more testing, but also they're also seeing the infection rate continuing to rise. So they're starting to see between 5,000 and 7,000 more daily cases now, which we're hitting record highs every couple of days, seems like. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've seen about over 194,000 cases with over 2,700 fatalities. But with that increased infection rate, what we're starting to see is statewide, we're running very low on ICU capacity, and they're getting closer to needing to activate contingency plans. So they're also, you'll hear that they're kind of reallocating patients to other facilities that might have more capacity, but they're starting to kind of shuffle people around and consider those contingency plans. But as a result of the increasing rate, Governor Walz has issued another executive order 20-96. So effective this Friday night, private social gatherings should not exceed 10 people or 3 different households, including your own. They're also putting limitations on bars and restaurants not to exceed 50% of normal capacity, with a maximum total internal and external occupancy not to exceed 150, as long as they're able to accommodate the 6-foot social distancing. Places of worship are exempt from the new limitations. However, the celebrations and receptions for weddings and funerals are also still limited to 25 persons. So they said they're going to try and scale it back to those new limitations. And the big one for, again, touching on our bars and restaurants, they also have to be closed between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. And the church, the wedding and funeral also are not supposed to be occurring after 10 p.m. So you'll see in the executive order several times 10 p.m. is referenced. And the running joke is that COVID gets worse after 10 p.m. That's why they're putting all this in place. But their logic is tied to what MDH found in their contact tracing when people were going out, and a lot of the ages that were contracting it and how they were contracting it, that a lot of that was happening after 10 p.m. And I think that was some of their logic that they're tying that decision to. On the city side, we're continuing to examine our practices, doing our best to make sure we keep our citizens and community safe. Still looking at our pandemic plan that we've sent out. You've seen a copy of. And in the good news, the drug makers are claiming they've developed a vaccine that's shown 90% of effectiveness, and they're hoping that it will be publicly available in the spring. They're still going to be running some tests on it, but if there's a light towards the end of the tunnel, hopefully that can play a role in it. And I can turn it over to Brad and Jess if they have any questions, and certainly take any or give it to them for anything they might have to add, and I'll certainly answer any questions that you guys might have after they're finished.
Great, thanks, Matt. And just to recap, obviously CARES funds have been a big workload for our staff here too, as well as managing the aftermath of the election. Right now, Jessica and her team have deemed that they're going to try to keep City Hall open 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday with kind of a skeleton crew. That's something that she's going to kind of have cohorts of staff that working together, but being distanced, masking everything properly. But that could change at some point. These numbers are not good right now, and we may be coming back to you with a change in plans at some point. But we are going to try to keep the hours open at this time. And Jessica's done a nice job working with her team. And Jessica, anything to add with that?
Thanks, Brad. I think the one variable for us is some folks do have some school age kids and things like that, which can also impact, as much as we'd love to be here, there's distance learning and hybrids and all sorts of changes going on across the state related to that as well. So we're going to do our best to at least have one person in the office, and then people available from home as well, but just that's a change for us as well.
Thank you, Jess. It's a great point.
And on the staffing level, a lot of the public safety agencies are getting hit pretty hard with their staffing stuff. So we're close regionally as far as needing to activate our regional staffing plan. We haven't yet, but several of our neighboring agencies have been hit pretty hard by it. I'm sure several of you saw in the news that Duluth PD had at one point 54 cops out on COVID or quarantine. So over a third of their department. So when it's hitting pretty hard, and it is definitely out in our area. But right now we're still continuing with business as usual in our city. But there's potential for that change, especially if we need to support our neighbors, or if we get hit, we can quite quickly lose numbers and need the support from our neighbors.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Anything else, staff? Anybody? Any questions from council?
Yeah, I was just wondering how our supply of PPE is. I've heard many reports that there's some shortages around.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, there's shortages everywhere, but we're doing just fine right now.
Okay.
So,
Well,
and we're working collectively with our partners in our emergency management group to help support each other as well. So I think we're right, as of right now, we're in an okay spot. And for the immediate future, it's just none of us know what this trajectory needs to look like. So.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, item 12, then the council schedule.
Mayor and Council, a couple things to update you on. First, I guess and foremost, a couple policy considerations. I would like to push to 2021 essentially due to the change at the council level. One of them being, I see actually Sean Lewis on the call, and that was scheduled for the next meeting on November 23rd. But that's really the council saying, this is how we're going to approach this. And then they would have to follow up and enforce any discussion they have at that point. So really I'd like to push that to 2021, for example, along with the discussion on recreational vehicle ordinance. This is the one that Councilmember Bottom wanted to talk about, and as well as the fire study. One from just a staff standpoint that we'd be rushing to put something together for the next meeting, but considering the fire service study work plan, pushing that to 2021 would be my plan. So a change from your packet there, and that's just some thought process of moving forward. So if you have any feedback on that, let me know. Otherwise, that is going to be my plan. Then specifically for the 23rd, this meeting tonight is Tom Anderson's last meeting as a city council position. So if you want to reserve that last motion to adjourn for him, it's up to you all. We also have an oath of office for Jeremy Nichols taking that position. One thing we learned is the election certificate could not be issued until the 14th. So we couldn't make that transition until after this meeting here. And just thank you, Tom, for doing a great job stepping in. On top of that, we have some planning business. We have Rush Creek Reserve, which is the formerly Sawgrass development that was at Planning Commission, along with Ravinia 15th edition, the final edition of Ravinia. And then a couple resolutions we talked about tonight too, a resolution honoring Dorothy Tice, and then as well as one honoring Councilmember Anderson as well. So busy end of the year coming up for us.
Okay. Okay. Well, before we adjourn, we'll have to embarrass Tom a little bit. Tom, I want to personally thank you for stepping up. I know you're a rather hesitant participant, and but ultimately qualified, and you stepped in at a time when we needed you, and I certainly appreciate it. And I know that the city has benefited from it a lot, and we appreciate your time and energies you put into this, and we look forward to. Not me so much, but I'm sure the city looks forward to seeing you on the Parks and Trails Commission in the future. So, and you'll continue, you switch back to your true love and
a real job, yeah,
and work on that. So we thank you for that. So again, thanks a lot. And I've always appreciated the stuff you've done, and I appreciated you stepping in when we needed you and to help out.
Thank you. This has been an interesting time. It's been I haven't always agreed with all of you, but I've tried not to be disagreeable, and I just hold all of you in very high esteem. I think Corcoran is a great place to live, and I expect that it will continue to continue as it grows to continue to be a great place for old guys like me and younger folks and kids and all of that good stuff. I think that Corcoran is just blessed to have just an incredibly skilled and hardworking staff. Just my goodness, there's just a buck doesn't get passed. People step right up. People take care of business and do it in general with a smile on their face, and even if they're not smiling on the inside, it's been really pleasant. Everybody has been just really nice to me while I've been on the council.
Appreciate having you on the council, Tom.
Thanks.
Appreciate the perspectives and the thought process you brought to it. It definitely opens our eyes to different viewpoints that we think about. So thank you for being on the council, and make sure you get some white pines out there for April. Want to get on that list.
Yeah, I'll take a few of those.
Take a few. Okay. All right.
Yes. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Brad.
Been good working with you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other business from staff? Anything else to do? Anything from council? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, and we're all going to wait for Tom to make that motion.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Thomas, aye. Anderson,
Aye.
Lothar,
Aye.
and Schultz.
Aye.
Great. Thanks. Good meeting, folks. Thanks a lot. Good job,
Thank you.
staff.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank
See
you,
you
guys.
around, Tom.
You bet.
Great job, everyone.